Arsenal come streaming forward now in surely what will be their last attack. A good ball by Dixon, finding Smith. But Thomas charging through the midfield. Thomas, it's up for grabs now. Thomas, right at
the end. Hello and welcome to Gooners in the USA. Mike? I know.
I think this is the only way to recap it. This is the state of the club at the moment, and our amazing audio of just getting that pumped right into the podcast. That wasn't coming through my phone or anything.
No.
That's kind of how it feels right now.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest with you.
It's farcical.
It's farcical, but guess what's not farcical?
Our guests?
That, as well as, hey, if you were listening 5 seconds ago, you would have heard our intro, which is the greatest moment in the history of the club. Amanda, it's the final call of the last 30 seconds or so of Anfield '89. And I'm obviously not the only one on the podcast that thinks this, so I love hearing that, but it's a little bittersweet going on because I am angry today. I can't help it. We make the same promise every time. Last year after the Chelsea game, we're not gonna get angry. We're not gonna go negative for the whole year and just use this podcast to spout out. But forgive me if today it comes out a little bit because this was an absolute shit show.
Mm-hmm.
This is Pony.
Yeah,
I'm a mess.
No, it's one of the worst performances I've seen in quite some time. I'm kind of thinking back to the 8-2. Let's loop in Amanda, Mike. Introduce her, so we'll get her into this conversation.
Amanda. I would like to introduce Amanda to everyone who already knows Amanda because of her 19,000 Twitter followers, but she's become a great friend of the podcast in our second season. I don't know what the fuck she was doing last year, but she's finally seen the light. And she's a member and sometimes host of the great Gooner Ramble pod, one of the many rambles that are available, but it's the best one. Had a couple of fantastic Gooner Girls podcasts with her friends who all seem to be either named Sophia, Sapphire, Safara, Banana. She's been begging us to come on the podcast, so we finally relented. And best of all, we don't have video evidence of this because it's an audio podcast, but we're told she's fully nude right now. So welcome to Gooners in the USA, Princess Gooner Amanda.
Hello.
Hiya.
Thank you for having me. Hiya.
Hey, we broke a duck, Mike.
Yes, we have finally broken a duck that took, something like 53 episodes to break?
Yes.
But
and not by design, but we broke our duck for having the first woman on our podcast, and we had others scheduled, but just schedules did not align at last minute. But
she's technically the second if you include your mom farting on the last podcast.
True.
That was the first.
True.
But
am I your first English Gooner girl?
You're the first woman on the podcast.
First, last, everything.
So I broke your virginity. Woohoo!
Which Mike still holds because he likes WWE.
Well, I'm not. I just lost it 2 seconds ago. So when we have a new guest on for the first time, we do like to take a little bit of time to get to know them so that the next time you come on, we could jump right into things. So now, Andy, you've met Amanda.
I have.
Amanda was in that motley crew that spent some time with you. You told me she was kind of quite the celebrity while you were with her. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was very. And Amanda, I'm sorry if I say this, but the amount of people who came up to Amanda to say hello that walked away, and she went, "Who's that?" But it wasn't like they walked up and just, "Hey, love, how you doing?" It's like, "Hey, Amanda," kiss on the cheek, walk away, and at least
kissing her on the cheek.
Yeah, at least 2 or 3 times. I don't know who that was.
It's like, remember we were married for 3 years?
No, let me explain, okay? I do tweet a lot of people and also, chat with a lot of people, and I honestly, I don't know who anyone is unless they tell me their Twitter name, and it takes me time. So people just come up and say hello, give me a kiss, I love you on the pod, or I love you on the, whatever I'm doing at that time. And I honestly don't know unless they tell me. I have to say, what's your Twitter name? Because
they should have that tattooed on their forehead.
A badge. I think they should wear a badge, Mike, don't you? So they go, "Hi, Amanda, I'm such and such."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have one of those name tags. Hello, my name is.
Hello, I knew you were going to mention that.
Hello, my stalker name is. So any of these people come up, try to buy you a drink or go any further than just the kiss on the cheek? And if they did, are you more of like a beer woman, or do you prefer something like Prosecco?
Oh, I'm a Prosecco girl.
Oh yeah.
I'm a Prosecco girl. When I'm drinking, I'm a Prosecco girl. No, this was outside the Armoury, which is the Arsenal shop. We took Andy there. We wanted to show him all the sights, even though there were people coming up and saying hello to me. Tom was with us, and Ola was with us, and we had good fun, didn't we, Andy? And we won.
Nice. We did.
And then we went out after, then we FaceTime Mike,
which Mike doesn't remember.
Well, it was late, and I had already gone to bed to rest up for the next day.
Too much Prosecco, Mike. Too much.
Maybe just a couple. So, tell us a little bit about your early stages of Arsenal fan. I mean, we've talked a little bit because I'm one of the 84,000 people you apparently chat with online. I know it starts at Highbury, but tell us a little bit about when you started going, with whom, where'd you sit.
Okay, so my name is Amanda.
And I'm a Gooner.
And I'm a Gooner for my sins. My dad has supported them since 1960, I would have thought. I was born in the summer of 69, and I apparently, at 3 years old, could recite the double team from 1971. Not that I remember, but my dad tells everybody that. So
and she's not talking about that kind of double team, so calm down.
How do you know? He took me to football when I was 4, apparently. I was lifted over the turnstile because it was different in those days. And I don't remember my first match, of course, and really took it up probably when I was about 8 or 9 years old, which was only about 20 years ago. Ish.
Of course, yeah. Which would make you not born yet to go to Anfield 89, but...
Ish.
Exactly.
Yeah, true. Yeah, damn. You had to pick that one out. And then, I went to football. I had a season ticket. I shared it with my brother probably when I was 10, 11, and then I really got into it when I was 12 years old. So that was, 1980. And then we had real dark years of Terry Neal and Don Howe and, oh, God, literally half of Highbury was empty. I used to put my feet over the seat in front and used to do slow hand claps, and we weren't a very popular club as such.
Where would you sit?
East Stand up, Block F, row 7. I cannot remember the seat number though. But it was fabulous view. And apparently James LL Cool J, who's on Twitter, used to sit in front of me, and he's 20 years younger, so he said he remembers my dad and me, which was great, and it's great to, Highbury was like a family for me. It's very, I used to go every game for many, many years. And then my first ever live final, I watched 1979. I was at home, but my dad was at Wembley with my cousins. And I remember sitting there with our little Arsenal flags. I was only, 10? And my dad and my mum were invited to the players' party. So my mum ended up dancing with Frank Stapleton. And my mum hates football. She's not into it at all. And all my mum's family are Tottenham. Every single one. Thousands of them. So we're the only Arsenal lot. And my first live final was 1987 when Charlie Nicholas scored to beat Liverpool. Excuse me. So... yeah, through the 80s, through at school, we weren't a popular club, as I said. We weren't doing well, Tottenham were. And then it changed when George Graham came in and I left school. And I used to go to more away games then as a teenager. Then I stopped for 20 years because I was married and stuff. But the last 4 years, because I'm not married much anymore, I travelled...
Not much.
Not much, no. Separated. I went to start to go on away games again, and it was fantastic. I hadn't done it for 20 years. And, so it is my world. It is like my religion. It's part of me. And where I've grown up, I still live. So literally, if you were walking down the street with me and we saw someone, they'd go, "Oh, you were shit yesterday, weren't you?" It wouldn't be, "Oh, hi, how are you? How's the family?" That's what it would be, because I was always, that's how I'm known, around where I live.
So tough times ahead at this point, then, if that's your life.
I walked into work this morning and the West Ham fans were on me, and I went, "Did you win the weekend then?" I've had it all day from the West Ham lot. The Liverpool guy wasn't in, thankfully, although he did message me when I was at Anfield. You take the rough with the smooth, but unfortunately, as we know, the last God knows how many years, it's not been great. But Arsenal is really my second love.
Excellent.
Yeah. So if you were East Stand upper, if you're facing the field, right side or left side?
Okay, so if you were looking at the if you was on the pitch...
Let me cut to the chase. If you were on the right side of the East Stand upper, then we probably went through the same turnstiles to get into the game back in 1988, and you might have been that girl whose tuchus I used to always stare at walking down the Avenell Road.
Probably was. It was nicer than it was now.
I mean, that is certainly possible. I have a distinct memory of that. So we've come full circle.
We might have even shared a Prosecco together and we didn't even know.
We may not have done that. I don't know if Prosecco was invented that long ago, but anyway.
Fizzy wine.
You're very strategic. You've timed the appearance on the podcast perfectly, because you were up to a little something last week that interested most Gooners, and certainly me. It was by far the most interesting podcast I've listened to in a long, long time, and that includes all 50 some odd of ours. Last week, you and the Gooner girls had one of my all-time favorite Arsenal fullbacks on your podcast. Did you not?
Oh, we did.
And it wasn't Nigel. It wasn't Nigel, but it was Lee. Tell us about the podcast.
No, it wasn't the left back Nigel Winterburn. It was the right back Lee Dixon. I've been very lucky. I missed out one of the most vital games that I've ever been to, which was Anfield '89, which we will discuss later, I'm sure. And obviously, I've always wanted to interview anyone from that. Many years ago, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I interviewed David Hillier, and on a Gooner Girls podcast, not the Gooner Ramble Girls, a different one. And then we got Michael Thomas on, and I actually couldn't breathe. I actually was struggling. I wasn't a host. I was just a guest. I actually couldn't breathe. When I saw his name come up on my Skype, I was like, I thought I was going to faint. I was so excited. It was beyond anything. So that match means so much to me. So I then interviewed Alan Smith, actually on YouTube, funny enough, visually. It wasn't planned. And I ended up interviewing him for Arsenal Fan TV about 3 years ago, I think. And then he came on a podcast with me. But then we've started up the Gooner Ramble, and I've joined them. And now I do the Gooner Ramble Girls. And the reason I've gone round the circle to explain this is that the 3 girls that I work with, you're right, Sophie, Sophia and Seema, all the S's, have some fantastic contacts in the media world, and one of them was Lee Dixon. And as soon as they told me that, I went, you have to get him on. I have to speak to Lee Dixon, not only because of Anfield '89, because of everything else, because the fact that he was in the best back four we've ever had, and the fact of what's going on now with our defence, and the fact that Steve Bold's our defensive coach. And it was so fascinating, and I was absolutely shaking, because I'm not really a host, but I am hosting now with the girls. I prefer to be a guest like this. I can just chat. But I had to host it, and I had to introduce him. And I asked the first question, and I said, look, I have to ask this. I said, when Lukic rolled the ball out to you, I had to. It didn't matter anything else. Don't care if I didn't ask another thing the whole podcast. What was going through your mind? And obviously, if you've listened, Mike, you heard what he said.
Absolutely. He didn't want the ball.
He didn't want the ball, and he thought it was over. So thank God he didn't listen to the referee. And he was absolutely insightful. He was accommodating. He really enjoyed it, apparently, as well. So
well, you could tell he enjoyed it. I mean, he seemed relaxed from the off, and just shared, so much more. One of the good things about the fact that Arsene Wenger doesn't allow any Arsenal legends anywhere near the club, apparently, unless you're Steve Bold, is that you get to hear their true unfiltered, honest point of view where it comes from the heart. And this definitely, I mean, I couldn't get enough of his memories from that night. I mean, we spent 22 minutes talking about Anfield '89 and I mean, at that time there weren't 8,000 television channels. I mean, you had four TV channels and motherfucking CFAX, and that was it. So, I mean, as far as I know, there wasn't a whole lot of TV coverage. I never really did, and I moved back to the States about a year after that. Never really did get to hear a lot of the personal feedback and memories from that, which I finally got to last week. But there's going to be a documentary coming up soon, I believe.
Well, yeah, we didn't know this. We didn't know we were going to get an exclusive. No one knew about this, apparently. And obviously, as you heard, we all went, oh, okay. And I was the one that asked if I could go to the premiere because you know what I'm like. Don't ask, don't get.
And you're taking us?
I will. Everyone's asked me.
But everyone's not us, though.
No, I know. You'll have to fly over. And he was just amazing. And, I've had my own season ticket since I was, 10, 11 years old, probably, yeah. And to have watched him come into our club and I obviously discussed his own goal, which was fantastic. Brilliant. He should have won goal of the month, his own goal. And he was just so interesting. And that hour flew and he would have stayed with us longer, but he was actually in the studios just going off to film for NBC, I think, for the Champions League. So we had no choice. He would have stayed. You could tell he was really enjoying it and he enjoyed us. And we had, we just wanted to make it casual. Mates round a pub, having a chat about football. We didn't want it to be pretentious. It wasn't about us. You didn't really want to hear about us. You lot want to hear about him, and so do I. I knew the story about the chip shop anyway. I don't know how I knew that, but I knew it. And he was just, it is the best night of my life, football-wise, apart from my son being born. The best night of my life has to be the 26th of May 1989. It will never be beaten unless we win the Champions League or in the last seconds or something. That ain't no chance of that at the moment. But so for us to have him on, and I hope all your listeners, if anyone listens to it, enjoys it, because it really isn't about us. We don't talk that much. He does. He does a lot of talking. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Do it. I listened to it probably 5 minutes after the tweets went out about it. And as soon as I found out who was going to be on the pod from those tweets, I tuned in, and it was far better than I possibly imagined it could be. So you definitely got to listen to that. So at this moment, just to kind of put a bow on this podcast, who is your favorite person named Lee? Be careful.
What do you mean? Who's my favorite person called Lee?
I don't know. One of them's doing a little bit, just recently done something more for you than the other. All right. No, never mind. Don't answer that. I don't want to get you in trouble.
All right. Let's move on, Mike. Before you start breaking up friendships.
Yeah. That's what we do here at the Gooners in the USA.
That's what you do well. That's what you do well.
So Amanda, you had the opportunity to be up at Anfield this weekend, and we don't want to deep dive the game too much because there's a lot happened since then. And frankly, we just don't want to go over one of the worst performances that we've all seen in a very long time. But we'll start very quickly and briefly just with the starting lineup. So you were in probably Anfield or close to it when that came out. Very confusing. Seeing, again, Bellerin on the left, Ox on the right. Seeing Danny up front with Sanchez and Lacazette move to the bench. The Tank is on the bench. What was the vibe like when you were around the people at Anfield or in a pub when you saw that an hour before kickoff?
Well, interestingly, I had to find someone for my ticket, and it was 10 to 3. I was meeting him, and he was a bit late, and I was standing out. There's a famous pub called the Arkles pub in Liverpool where the Arsenal would go and drink, and I was on the corner there with a friend and my mate Dave, and she went, team's out. And I said, no, I've got to try and find the minibus. I need my ticket. I want to get into Anfield. I want to make sure I get my ticket. And she went, oh, my God. I went, tell me Sanchez is playing. That's because the year before, when he dropped him, I went ballistic up there. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, my Scouse mate looked at the team and he looked at me and he went, he's really setting up like that, is he? I went, what's he done? Oh, my God. I went, oh, my God. I was like this. Where the fuck is Lacazette? what is collage? I'm like this. But because I was so stressed trying to find my ticket, I didn't take much notice at that moment. So I wasn't in the pub as such. I was outside it. And I just remember my Liverpool mate calling it. He said, if he sets up like this, you're playing to our strengths, not our weaknesses. So I said, oh, my God. Yeah. And then that was it. So to be honest, look, as everyone knows, because I've posted thousands of pictures, I've been in Liverpool since Friday. I have the best time when I go up there. I've had the best weekend apart from 93 minutes. That's how I look at it. I never go with much hope to that place anyway. And unfortunately, I can't explain it anymore. I mean, I did rant last night. I'm not going to go through the game again, but we were an absolutely pile of dog shit. I'm still waiting for him to turn up, to be honest. I don't even start. Why start the ox when you know he's going? You know he's going because he turns down 180 grand, whether he did or didn't, but there's issues. Why start him? And why is Lacazette? So, you know what? I wasn't close to the pitch this time. I normally am. When Lacazette was running up and down, like warming up, I shouted out, I bet you're pleased you join our fucking club. Seriously, 50 million quid on the bench at Anfield, and you play Danny Welbeck. Look, I love Danny. Unfortunately, I do, but he's not any good. I just love him. His enthusiasm, I just love him as a person. Unfortunately, he's not good enough. He can't score goals.
He's certainly not better than Lacazette.
Absolutely. I mean, and you have a man running up and down here who, he must be thinking, what have I joined here? I'm at Anfield. I scored against Leicester. I've not done badly here. No. Yet, he brings him on and then plays him left wing. Don't even get me fucking started.
What was the vibe like amongst the away support?
I've heard it was relative. I mean, confirm this because I've heard it was relatively until the end with some people. Like in contrast to the Crystal Palace absolute just travesty last year, where it all fell apart. Did people stick together, or is it all starting to break up in the away section?
No, it's changed now, Mike. When I went to Anfield last year, there was fighting amongst the fans. When I went to Chelsea, there was fighting amongst the fans. United, the same sort of thing. It's not like that anymore because most people are now on the same side. So what it is, it's a group now of booing and Wenger out and whatever. I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't have played the Ox. He didn't get a good reception. There was no toxic amongst fans. It was aimed at the pitch. And then obviously we go 1-0 down, 2-0 down, 3-0 down, and you're screaming at the bench. I actually have never done this before, but when we went, Wenger didn't move until after the second goal went in. Klopp was out the whole time. Okay, that's my eye line, what I can see. As soon as that second goal went in, I went on the concourse, and I've never done it before. I couldn't watch any more. I think we had 10 minutes left. I thought of the first half, I couldn't be bothered. Went to the loo, got a drink, chatted to some Gooners, came back up, and the whistle went. I had lost my shit with it all because if you're going to start at Anfield with a team like that, you deserve everything you get. Because how can you play through? I can't even go. Yeah, sorry. But amongst the fans, so what happened was with about 10 minutes to go and you're 4-0 down, then the piss taking starts, and it's hilarious. They're singing songs like, we're going to win 5-4, we're staying up. Fun enough, when they were singing, we are staying up, say we are staying up, one bloke shouts, I'm going to sing it, but I don't believe it. Honestly.
I don't think we are.
That is so funny, but that's the humour, because in the end, there's just no point. 10, 15 minutes to go. There's just no point. We looked at the clock and I couldn't leave because I was meeting my Scouse mates after. I would have gone. I would have gone at 4-0. Crystal Palace was very different because, Mike, you were at Crystal Palace and I was in O'Hanlon's in New York watching it with some Gooners. So you were in my country and I was in yours. Trading in places. And I took Jack with me, my son who hates football. Thank God there was Wi-Fi in your pub. And I remember meeting my American lot, and they were brilliant and they were just as passionate as me. And we just were, Crystal Palace must have been one of the worst matches. And as you know, you were there.
So honoured to have witnessed that in person.
Oh, really? God, thank God I wasn't there. I would have been there. I would have been. But thank God, well, with 20 minutes to go, Mike, I left and went out and enjoyed New York. I said to Jack, let's go. I'm not watching anymore. I don't even know what the score was, but it was over. And I went out into your 90-degree heat and probably went out and did some sightseeing. I couldn't give a shit. I've never left. I don't leave football early. It's not something I do. But unfortunately,
how many times do we have to stab ourselves in the eyes with what we're watching before you?
Well, that's the thing.
Watching?
But Andy, you're wrong, because you said to me before, you said you introduced it and you went, "This is the worst game we've seen in years." It's not years. That's the problem.
Well,
and
it is, and I think I had the fortunate. I was at the 2 seasons ago. I was at the Arsenal Southampton 4-0 match where we played them away at St. Mary's, and that was like on my blip of that was one of the worst matches I've ever seen as well. But you're right. There's just been so many. I mean, Man United 8-2. We lost 5-2 to City when we were top of the league.
I haven't seen one where
Palace.
I mean, I've seen them where we looked incompetent. I've never seen one where maybe 9 out of the 11 players looked like they actually were physically trying to harm the coach by playing poorly, and that's what I saw this weekend.
When you're
in the 8-2, it was just, we were a shit show of a team. We had a horrible summer of transfers, which led to the panicking in the last few days, like we're about to see again. But it was almost 6 years later, something you could excuse by just being not properly set up with the right personnel and the right players.
Well, so
this is a revolt. This is a revolt.
And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. At this point, it seems like it's a revolt. But Amanda was at the match. Mike, you were, I know, at the pub drinking. I was watching it at home, and so you guys maybe not privy to this, but halftime rolls around, and they're breaking down the goals, and Ramsey was nowhere near Xhaka when he had the ball that he gave away, and when they freeze framed it, there was no Arsenal player within 20 yards of him.
Yeah, I've watched that. Yeah.
But Ramsey's walking over to the sideline, having a conversation with someone, and what bothers me when Amanda says Arsene didn't even move off the bench until after the second goal, Arsene should be screaming at him, turn around and connect to the play like the ball is live. And it's just, like Mike just said, it's just that flow of just 9 players who just seem to not give a shit. And we didn't have a manager who seemed to give a shit either, because he should have been barking orders. And so it's one of those matches where, typically when you go to a match and you see us play really bad, you think, all right, well, we didn't look terrible. Did we have any shots on goal?
No. We didn't have any shots on goal.
And so it's like when you look at back
7 or 8 attempts, and they were just not even
terrible, right? But at least like you always hear about we got 1 or 2 in, so we had maybe 1 or 2 movements that were good, but it was a fucking shit show. And Amanda, I'm sorry you wasted so much money to go up to Liverpool and see that, but it sounds like you had a nice weekend otherwise.
Oh, I had a fantastic weekend. It was brilliant, and the people up there have always been fantastic to me. One of my best mates lives up there, and the boys I always go with to a certain place before Anfield. We go for a drink. Not that I was drinking much this weekend, but I should have drunk a lot after. But what happened was I just knew, we were lucky to beat Leicester, as you saw, Andy. Stoke was a shit show. It's just going to continue, and as I said before I came on air with you, I did a podcast last night with the Liverpool lot, and it's just come out, and you should hear me ranting. I'm different tonight because I just feel sad, that my club is being run by, I want the board out, I want Kroenke out, I want Wenger out, I want half the players out, I want to start again. I just feel they're only there for the money. Gazida is telling us that there's a catalyst for change in the summer. Are you joking? It's got worse.
It's all a bunch of shit. And let's just put this game behind us and talk about the rest of the bullshit that's going on.
Well, no, and we should, because there is lots of bullshit. And we'll go to the clusterfuck. That's the transfer window. And as Amanda just said, there is catalyst for change. Now, I'm completely on board with the catalyst for change, getting the deadwood out of the club, selling players that aren't good enough. What I'm not okay with is doing it when the transfer window closes in 2 days and it fucking takes us 4 weeks to sign 1 player. This is just we've waited way too long. If he wanted to move the Ox, he should have done it 6 weeks ago. If we're going to sell Sanchez to City, he should have done it 6 weeks ago. Don't keep coming back to us saying, I think they're going to stay. We've heard it before. We heard it with Van Persie. We heard it with Adebayor. We heard it with fucking Nasri, with Fabregas. It's a broken record, you useless cunt.
Does he believe it, or does he think that that's some sort of tactic?
You know what, Mike? I think he is so disconnected from his players, he doesn't know.
Believes it.
I don't think he has conversations with his players outside of the season. I think they leave for summer vacation. If they get hurt, that he might reach out and say, how are you doing? Like, what's going on? But outside of that, I don't think he has a fucking clue what his players are doing. So he waits for them to come back, waits to kind of feel out the vibe, right? And we need a manager that is connected to his players, connected to their social medias, connected to everything. Even if he has an assistant who does it. Oh, I see Jack was in Vegas again. He hears about it from the media before anyone else.
He's got this view that the club is still looked at in the same way that it was 10 to 20 years ago.
Exactly. He hasn't moved
and everybody,
on.
Of course the players would want to stay here because this is Arsenal. And he hasn't realized that it's not that way anymore. And he's a large part of the reason.
Do you think Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola don't know what their players are doing, don't know where their players are going on holiday, doesn't know the vibe after the FA Cup win of, hey, what's going on? Contract isn't signed. We should sit down and talk. You don't want to be here.
You don't have Klopp saying Coutinho doesn't want that Coutinho wants to stay here.
Exactly.
You have Klopp saying we're not selling him, but you don't have him so just completely unaware of what's going on around him that he is acting like Coutinho's happy and may actually re-sign another deal.
Klopp saying that they don't want to sell Coutinho is him saying, I don't want to sell a good player, and you're appeasing the fans. Exactly what you said. He's not coming out saying he's not leaving because he more than likely is, right? But you're right. Arsene is he's so disconnected from everything, and it's just I don't get it. I absolutely don't get it. Why we're waiting until 2 days left in the window? Because typically we don't see an uprising from our supporters until January, February when we get knocked out of Champions League. It's 2-3 weeks into the season. We're fucked. If you think there was a hostile atmosphere last year, wait until Bournemouth, because that stadium, if we don't sign people and we ship off 2 or 3 players, Amanda will probably be the first one lighting the match because that fucking thing's going to burn down.
Amanda, will you be the first one lighting the match?
No.
She'll be the second one lighting the match.
I don't light any matches. Are we just discussing anyone that's potentially going to be leaving today?
Let's go straight into Sanchez because there's reports saying that he's asked to leave training with Chile to sort out his future. We're seeing reports that City might offer money plus Sterling.
I'm seeing reports that they are offering Sterling for Sanchez plus money, which is absolutely absurd.
That's absurd.
They want the money.
There's reports coming out of France, like within the start of this pod, that they only want Sanchez for money. So I'll go to Amanda here. What do we do with Sanchez? He clearly doesn't want to be here. Are you saying let's just sell him and try and get a player in? Or are you saying let's just hold on to him till next summer and we can let him leave on a free?
Well, I've had this argument, unfortunately, and I've sort of changed my mind a little bit tonight. If a player doesn't want to play for you, then he can go. As much as I begged Sanchez to stay in my heart, I thought I wasn't going to see him again after the cup final. Then he came on the pitch on Sunday. You cannot let a player walk out of a club for nothing next year. You can't, unfortunately. I wish we would. I wish we'd keep him, but it's just going to cause so much unrest. There was tales of unrest in the dressing room at full time. There was trouble on the pitch that my friend saw with him and Welbeck. You know, if there is a bad fruit in the fruit bowl, you've got to get it gone. Unfortunately, I'm heartbroken because I think he's one of the best players I've seen in recent times. But the problem you've got to understand here is our club's at fault, because when they knew his contract was up last summer, when they knew he had 2 years last summer, they should have put pen to paper then, or tell him to fuck off, tell him to go, sell him, because what it's caused now is this: we have till Thursday, UK time, it's Thursday night, 11 o'clock, it closes. As I'm recording with you, it's 7:45 Tuesday night, so it's 2 days left to go, 2 and a bit days. And it is a disgrace what's going on, because I was told many, many months ago by a friend of mine that Sanchez was going to City. I was praying that he was wrong. I was told many, many months ago that Ox won't sign a new contract while Wenger's there if he stays on. And I was told that there's quite a few players being shifted out. But it's 2 days to go. And this should have all been done weeks and weeks ago, not this. And his bollocks about not being ready for the start of the season, he did that last season. Mm-hmm. So the Sanchez debate is hard for me because I've championed, let's keep him for another, I'd rather have another season of him and let him walk free. But you can't have a player that doesn't want to be there. You just can't. And, it's obvious he doesn't want to be there because he's not signed an extension. But Noraz, Ramsey, Ozil, and a few others. So I don't know what shit show is going on at our club at the moment. It's all going to unravel. I think it's all going to unravel probably tomorrow night, Thursday morning, because you've got Van Dijk possibly going to Liverpool. You've got the Ox, I think, that wants to go to Liverpool more than Chelsea. You've got Sanchez being offered, they don't want to just take cash. We don't need the cash, do we? We don't spend it anyway. They're saying they want Sterling. Do we want Sterling? He can't score goals. Do we need another one?
Sterling will progress fantastically under Wenger too. I mean, he'll be playing left back.
Yeah, I was just about to say left back. I can see him playing left back.
I mean, with Sanchez, I think I echo what you're saying because I had a night earlier this summer where I just completely turned on Sanchez and said, look, we're improving the club. We've signed 2 very, very good players and we're going to, hope, I said, if we sign some more, if we continue to strengthen the squad, then you're going to look like a fool for saying that it wasn't about money. It's about strengthening the squad because we'll have done that and you'll still be aching for a transfer. But now we've just played right into his hands because every single thing that he's complained about, we've just doubled down on. And we've not strengthened the team as much as we needed to. We've shown that we have no respect for the people that we've even signed by leaving them on the bench unnecessarily on an 8-day rest. And, I can't blame him for leaving now. I'm not upset with him anymore. I think he can fuck off once he leaves, but, none of these guys, you can't blame any of them for wanting to jump off a sinking ship.
It bothers me the way people are treating the Ox because, he's obviously everyone knows he's one of my favorite players, but it is a sinking ship at the moment. And he doesn't believe in the manager. And so what other choice have the club left him? Whether or not he goes to Chelsea, Liverpool, he's going to get a big contract because he's a young English player. He's got a bright future ahead of him. But now everyone's jumping on this, fuck off because you want the money. It's like, yeah, he's going to take the money, but why would you want to stay at this club?
I don't know why you would want to stay at the club, but I do feel differently about Ox than I do about Alexis. I've actually completely flip-flopped on the two in the last couple of weeks. And you know that I share your Ox love. It's I have to finally renounce my love for him because, we've been impressed by his work rate and his flashes of brilliance in the last couple of years since he's relatively been healthy. But, I think my affection for him probably obscured a lot of really good points that a lot of people on goddamn Arsenal Twitter, including ourselves, have made, that despite being a nice guy who might be rounding into form finally, he's been inconsistent, he's been injury prone, he's been immature on the pitch, and he's got higher upside, but he's kind of Theo Walcott with more effort but less goals.
Well, and so that leads me to a question.
To get 35 for him and to have him acting in a way where he is asking to be treated in position and in contract and in demands the same way that somebody who's accomplished what what Alexis Sanchez has, it rubs me the wrong way.
Well, but we don't know that he's asking all that, Mike. There's a lot of people on the internet that think they know what's going on, and
oh no, everybody actually knows what's going on.
So apart from the contract offer and what have you, Amanda, is $35 million for a player of Ox status right now good piece of business for us?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I really, really rate the Ox, but he's not rated over here by lots and lots of people. I think he hasn't been directed well. I don't think he's been nurtured well. I don't think he's been played in the right positions. I don't think he's been given much of a chance, to be honest, to have a long length of play. And I think he's going to do really well wherever he goes because I think he's got talent. The problem is over here is people think he hasn't learned anything and he's not progressed. Well, has anyone progressed under Wenger? You know, you look at Theo Walcott, right? He's got everything going for him, yet he's not great, is he? So 35 million for a player they don't rate, it's fantastic business. Selling him to a rival is not.
Nope.
And this is my argument again. Here we go again. Although saying that, Chelsea or Liverpool are not our rivals anymore. You can forget top 4, you can forget top 6 if this continues. I did say something last night that I regret and I don't regret because I do feel like this. I've never, ever, ever wanted Arsenal to lose a game, ever. Now I want Arsenal to lose 6 or 8 games so we get rid of him, so the manager goes. I will get slaughtered for that, but that's fair enough. I stand by what I say.
I don't think he will go. I honestly...
He will have to go out, Andy.
You think so? Do you think he goes, or do you think Kroenke fires him? Because I don't think Kroenke fires him.
No. I think he will. If we're near relegation and the transfer window's shut and we've got months to go to the next one opens, what's he going to do? You think he's going to stay? I don't think he will. No one agrees with me, I have to tell you.
Let's compare to Chelsea 2 years ago under Mourinho. I mean, if we get to January where they were, and I think they were probably 14th, 15th in the table at that point, you think Wenger will walk away?
They didn't hate Mourinho the way we despise Wenger now.
They also have an owner who shows up every week, who's ruthless and
he's into football.
Yeah, he likes the game and it's a hobby of his. I don't see Kroenke firing Arsene if we went on an 8-game losing streak. I think that Arsene would have to fire himself.
I think he would walk. But no one agrees with me, so we'll have to wait and see in that one.
Yeah.
It would break my heart to watch us lose every single game, but something's got to change, and nothing will change. If we carry on, if we beat Bournemouth and get a draw at Stamford Bridge, which is very, very unlikely, it'll go back to being, okay, well, it was a bit of a blip at the start of the season. But I've said this for 3 years now. You know, something has to change dramatically. You know, he lost the dressing room, definitely. You can see that there's, watching him yesterday, yet he gets rid of the dressing room and he's still there. What the fuck? Seriously?
Yeah, it's, the thing that I don't get is so we'll go to Mustafi because apparently he's leaving. And going to Inter on loan. So we
only bought him last year.
Exactly.
For God's sake.
£35 million we buy him for.
Wenger doesn't rate him though.
But so exactly. But so then
he's got to go.
Exactly. So then why? I mean, that wasn't like it was a transfer dealing that was done within 24 or 48 hours. That carried on for a good 3 weeks.
Right. They targeted him early in the summer, and as always, it's a 6-week process. But that one wasn't the Lucas Perez situation or the situation after the 8-2 all those years ago. This was the guy they targeted to be the next partner for Koscielny.
So who's targeting him though? Like, that's the frustrating part about it. If Arsene doesn't feel like he's, in my opinion, he's probably our second best center back, right? Besides Koscielny, we've sold Gabriel. What's the fucking
upside? Yeah.
What's the fucking plan here? What is the plan? Because we got 2 days left. What do we do? You've got Chambers, but you're not even Gooner's so upset right now. Gooner is so upset. You've got Chambers, but you're not even putting him into the squad. So it's just like I don't get it. It's just the thing that sucks is if we sell Sanchez, okay. If we sell Ox, we're going to be sitting on, £70 million, as Amanda said, we don't need it. You're going to go to a club and say, hey, I need this player. They're going to turn around and be like, 15 more million, please, because we know how desperate you are.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's the problem. And
the player's going to refuse to come.
And we know that he wants Lamar. And if reports are true and Liverpool truly put £80 million on the table for Lamar, and they said no, what the fuck are we going to offer?
I will say something else though. I don't think he's. I mean, I've not heard any rumours recently about any big stars coming in. I think he will get a few fringe players in. I think he's going to look the biggest fool ever because he continuously has said that Sanchez will be an Arsenal player after the 31st of August, which blatantly, unless we're all going nuts and he extends his contract, is blatantly not going to happen. So he's going to look like a fool again completely because he really went to town on about 3 interviews separately and said he will be a player after the 31st of August. Really? Well, you know what? It's not looking like it. I don't talk transfers on my pod, I never have, because the speculation. Andy, when you said he definitely wants Lamar, you don't know that. This is paper talk. This is media talk. This is fans talk. This is rumour talk. We haven't got a clue what he wants. Because he lied to us about Van Persie, he lied to us about Nasri, and now he's lying about Sanchez. I've met Wenger. I met Wenger in a sort of small press conference evening, just full of fans. There was about, I don't know, 50, 60 of us, 100, whatever. And I asked, we were allowed one question, I asked 5.
Did he get paid per lie or just once for the whole conference?
This was the time when Fabregas was free to come back, and there was rumours that we were going to, Fabregas wanted to leave and come back to London, and he was only going to come back to Arsenal. And I asked him the question. I said, "Okay, so when are you re-signing Fabregas?" Now, let me tell you, I'm not that naive, okay, and I'm not that taken in, and I'm quite sceptical. He had me. I was mesmerised by him. Absolutely. I was like I was hypnotised when he was talking to me. I mean, obviously I was starstruck because I'm sitting in front of Arsene Wenger having a chat, and that is never going to happen again, and I knew that then, but I was absolutely... So he is the biggest spin doctor in the world. He should be a politician. He never even answered my question. He did it in a way where, well, we have first refusal on him, and we look at this, and he didn't answer. He didn't answer many of my questions. Well, he did, but in a funny way. I absolutely loved him. That was probably about 4 years ago, actually. 5 years ago. One of my special nights to actually have met him.
It was the same summer we signed Alexis Sanchez, actually.
No, it wasn't. It was a couple of years before then.
I thought we didn't sign Fabregas because, okay.
No, it was Meza. I think
it was Ozil.
No, I think it was the year before then. It was muted. It wasn't, and I think, if I remember, this was the end. We were playing Fulham away. I remember because I went. It's got to have been 4 years ago. So, I was mesmerised by him. I had absolutely taken in. And if I can be taken in, everyone must be. That's why the media love him. That's why they're defending him in such a way. But they're not now. They used to defend him, not so much now.
And I only say the Lamar thing, Amanda, to go back to that, was just because there was such a heavy presence with him. And I don't think we were ever completely ruled out. I honestly think that we put in bids. Enough news outlets know we put in bids. So it's a player we obviously wanted that we didn't get, right? And so at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's so funny because Mike and I both got to meet Arsene 2 summers ago, and you do fall into that. Everyone's always Billy Big Bollocks. Oh, I fucking tell him what I think. No, you wouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you love Arsenal and you meet this man who you are going to love 5-10 years from now for everything he's done for our club, right now we despise the man. But in 15 years, 20 years, when they put a statue up of him, we're going to remember everything good that he's done. But you get into that, you get into the state of shock. You literally are like, I am in this person's atmosphere for as many seconds as I am, and you freeze, and you do get starstruck.
That is not going to last forever, though. I mean, I posted on Facebook after I had my little run-in with him in San Jose during the California tour. At this point, like 12, 13, 14 months ago. And it was right when we were, are we going to sign Mahrez? Are we signing Benzema? Blah, blah, blah. And I ran him down on the street. He agreed to take a picture. And I posted, I'm like, all this stuff that people would say that they would say if they ran into him, the only thing that could come out of my mouth was thank you. And it wasn't for the picture. It was just thank you, for everything. And that was how I spent my 15 seconds with him. So you're absolutely right. But my concern is, and I shouldn't be worried about this for my own well-being, but and I guess he doesn't give a shit. But he stays on for 2 more years, 4 more years, and what happens with this club, people are not going to enjoy seeing that statue. I mean, he has the potential to undo almost everything that he has done his actions at this point, or his inactions at this point, are almost so aggressively inept that I feel like he's almost thumbing his nose at the supporters, and that is one way to lose your legacy.
I agree. I disagree. I think Scott from Same Old Arsenal, maybe it was even Lee, had said...
Craig.
His
Craig. Last name was...
I think one of the two of them said this. Tell me the name of your great-great-grandfather. Yeah. Most people can't. Tell me who managed Arsenal 15, 20, 30 years ago. You can pop that out of immediately. People will remember him for the whole picture, and I get what you're saying, Mike, 100%.
I hope so.
No, I do. Maybe Amanda's got a different viewpoint on this, but I think when the statue goes up of him at the Emirates, people will reflect upon everything that he, unless we get relegated, but everything that he did for us to get us to be the global brand that we are, and the powerhouse that we were, and the Invincibles, and everything like that. And I'm going to go back to
the Emirates.
So here's the thing. When I moved from England to America, I moved to Wisconsin. And most people that listen to this will have heard of Brett Favre. When he went and played for the Vikings, everyone said he's dead to me. They were lighting shit on fire. He would never be 2 years ago, he got inducted into the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame, and now he's a legend.
All is forgiven.
All is forgiven, right? And so it took 5 years for everyone to just simmer down, and he's the equivalent of a Tony Adams or a Thierry Henry, So he's that level of legend.
I'll give you a reason why that happened. His name is Aaron Rodgers. If we can get somebody in who gets us back to prominence, so that it's easy to forget about the horrible years we're about to experience, in my opinion, then yeah, it's easier. I'm just saying, you said unless we get relegated. If we have 4 or 5 years, and I'm fearful of this, otherwise I'm not a hyperbolic person generally, especially when it comes to negative about Arsenal. But I mean, if we spend the next 3 or 4 years in true mid-table hell, I'm not talking about 5th to 7th, I'm talking about 7th to 10th, because we cannot get people to come here, because we still have the same uncertainty about spending, about training methods, about a manager who says nothing to his team in the 15 minutes of halftime. If we still have all those things hanging over our head and it just drags us down into a pit, worse than Liverpool's, worse than United's, worse than any of these teams that have recently gone through reconstruction, then how are you going to say, okay, well, we'll just wipe all that away and revere the man for what he did 15 to 25 years ago? Mm-hmm. That's my worry. But I won't dwell on it, because it is 3 games into the season, and they could rattle off the darkest always seems before it's always darkest before the dawn. But I cannot imagine how we're going to pull it together from here.
I personally think we're in free fall. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. Sorry to be negative tonight.
No, I mean, poison is just...
be as negative as just give us your thoughts.
This is a purging session. We're just going to let all of the fluids just come out of our bodies.
Oh, God.
And just get it all out there. And then the next week when we have a podcast, it'll be all light and cheery and jokey, and we can get back to that. But, everybody's leaving. No one's coming in, and Arsen's staying. Does that pretty much sum it up?
We don't know. We have to wait and see.
That was positive.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, you don't know anything. I've always said that. Always, always. You don't know anything until 11 o'clock Thursday night, and then you can judge, and then we can all talk and see what's happened.
Well, like you said, sadly, fringe players are probably the most likely. So,
and this is going to be one of those years. We haven't had one for a while, actually, but this is going to be one of those years where they keep cutting to the Sky Sports guy standing on the street outside the Emirates with all those bozos there behind him, because, I mean, this one is going to go down to the wire, and it may be about more, who leaves than who comes in, but it's going to be one of those transfer deadlines. Don't make plans.
I'm out Thursday night, so will you boys tell me what's going on, please?
Sure, I'll FaceTime the NBC transfer deadline special to you.
Do they
Thank
have
you
one of
very
those?
much.
Do they have one of those?
They actually are this year, and so Kyle Martino is just gonna and Robbie Musto could just go off on Arsenal for an hour.
Kroenke, is it the board? Is it arson? Mike, I know that you've got some feelings about this.
Well, I've expressed some of them already. I mean, it's kind of rehashing my own. I mean, it's all of them. But you change the board and don't change Wenger, we're no better off. You change the owner and you don't change Wenger. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but Usmanov was just quoted a few months ago when he was making a serious bid for the team, presumably, that he didn't think Arsene Wenger deserved to be let go. I mean, maybe he's changed his mind in the time since, but a change of owner doesn't automatically mean a change of manager unless we sell him to the Nigerian billionaire guy. But everyone needs to stop acting like they know what the solution is, because there's so many people talking about the solution, but just at least be, big enough to admit that it's pretty clear what the solution isn't, and that isn't anything going forward with Arsene Wenger. And I just cannot believe how full circle this has all become, because I haven't been yelling at Wenger out for 5 years, although I'm starting to feel that the people that have been, obviously either knew something before it happened or had an inkling of it. But I've never been a Wenger out person, but I mean, he's got to leave. Then I was going to talk about a lot of his legacy, but we've already been over that. It's just so bad right now. And I'm mad at him. I'm sad for him. I'm upset that I'm letting this get to me so much to where I literally don't know how much yesterday cost me because I couldn't focus on work. It's ridiculous. That's my fault. But this whole thing is just shit, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Should we go to user questions?
Let's go to user questions, but let me actually try to jam in here something that is a little bit serious, and hopefully can bring some positivity around. Do you mind if I take a second, Andy?
Go ahead, my man. It's for a good cause.
All right, good. We don't ask much of our listeners or users other than to kind of listen to our bullshit every once in a while. But, and the timing for this honestly couldn't be worse. And I don't mean because of what's going on with Arsenal. I mean what's going on in Texas. Because seriously, if you have available funds, if you're charitably inclined and you haven't given help to those in Texas, I suggest that you do. But I can't do anything about the timing of this request. So for those people who are extremely charitably inclined, extra generous, and have the ability to do something extra, the company I work for every September sponsors an annual fundraiser, and it's in the form of a classic car show here in Virginia. It's pretty cool to attend. But what we're doing is raising money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. It's a cause that's near and dear to me. I lost my dad 7 years ago to leukemia. My stepfather's had 2 bouts with lymphoma that he's been through, and I know just countless people who have suffered from it. And it's a great charity. And people say we're raising money for cancer, and that bugs the hell out of me because cancer doesn't need any more money than it already has. I mean, I hate we're not walking over to leukemia's house and being like, hey, here's $2,000. We're raising money for cancer research, and it ultimately benefits people here worldwide in the U.S. and everywhere else. And last year, our 10-person office raised $40,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and we're trying to hit $50,000 this year. So just want to, it's unlike me, but I want to take just a minute. If you live in the D.C. area, we'd love to have you join us. But, if you live anywhere else, you can still contribute. There's a website where if you have a credit card, if you have nothing is too small to donate. 30 cents is too small because that's the cost of the processor takes 30 cents out of it. But so if you're going to donate 30 cents, just keep it and give it to the Red Cross. But the website is www.goonersvscancer.com. It was just set up today. And seriously, if you have any inclination to be able to help out, we'd love that. Appreciate it. And I want to work out some sort of a thing where I do something stupid if people donate enough money.
We'll think about that. We'll have our. Yeah. Well, I think what we should do, Mike, is we'll have our listeners give us ideas, and then I'll choose the best one that doesn't include us seeing your balls.
Yes. Well, put your Twitter handle on the donation. I'll give you a shout out on the prize on the pod, and we'll kind of put all the things together. And if we reached our fundraising goal from this, which is $2,000, we'll pick a funny one that doesn't involve murdering anyone or
seeing your balls.
Seeing my balls or slicing off my penis or anything like that and get it done. So it's goonersversecancer.com, and we're accepting donations for the next 2 weeks. Sorry to bring down the tone of the podcast for just a minute there, but let's go to some user questions. We have user question from Carrie McCollum, who is one of our new Alabamanese users.
I love this question.
Yes. It says you're rebuilding the team and can only keep 3 players on the entire squad. Who are they? Andy. Amanda, we'll give you some time to think. Andy, what do you think?
Ox, Alexis Sanchez.
And
Mustafi.
No, come on.
If we're rebuilding the team, I'm going to say Xhaka, Lacazette, and this is a good one. It's tough. So I'm thinking of our spine. I guess Koscielny.
Okay. All right, Amanda, do you have any of all of those great Gooners that we saw on the pitch the other day and on the bench? Who would you save?
Lacazette.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I can only have 3, yeah? Ozil. Ozil, that won't be a shock.
Oh, okay.
Koscielny.
All right. My 3 weren't mentioned by any of you, and it might be a little off base, but I'm thinking people who are, the future of the team, who aren't jaded, although unless they're already wanting to leave after last week. But I would go with Rob Holding, assuming we sign virtually any senior center back to partner with him. Reece Nelson and Said Kolasinac.
Oh yeah.
It's a good shout.
Unless Kolasinac is already ready to leave from being benched last week, but I would go with those 3. So good question, Carrie.
Yeah, it was a great question.
Definitely thought-provoking.
And Reece Nelson is still banging them in for the under-23s. It's only a matter of time until he gets a first-team call-up. Mike Hernandez.
You can get too excited about a guy and start singing his praises well before he's deserved it, but I mean, let's see what the guy's got at this point.
No, seriously, why not?
And we may with Oxford, because when Bellerin gets hurt, that's who we'll see.
Mike Hernandez, who is at USA Gooner 1886, and I'll go to Amanda first on this because I feel like she's probably got the in with more non-Arsenal supporters than us, Mike. Is AFC still considered a top club by non-Arsenal fans, managers, and players? And the second part, would the board consider sacking Arsene if it gets worse? Amanda, I'll go to you first.
No, we're not considered top class club at the moment. We're considered a laughing stock. We're considered what are the board doing. We're considered every rival fan wants Arsene Wenger to say. What does that tell you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I'd echo it. I can't say anything different.
They're loving it because the media have always loved us, and now we're in free fall, unfortunately. So,
and I think we probably kind of commented on whether the board would sack Wenger if it gets worse. I think we covered that a little bit earlier in the podcast. So I am Will at William 59406734 is his Twitter handle, which apparently William 1, William 2, and the other 59 million William handles were already taken. But who is in charge of contracts, and how come we're the only club who season after season have players going into the last year of contracts? Amanda.
Because our board are fucking pathetic. And I'm telling you, that's what I said at the beginning about you should never, ever let a player's contract run 2 years. 2 years down. 2 years to go, you sit him down, out the club, sold, or you sign. Simple as. I've said it for years. Get me on the board. I'll sort it all out. Trust me.
Are we the only club that has players going to last year contracts? I mean, I don't know the contract situation intimately with other, rival or presumed rival clubs, but I mean, are they constantly either selling or extending when there's 2 or more years left?
I mean, if you look at so let's look at David Levy. Okay, credit where credit's due. The one thing he does well, or whatever the fuck his name is, I don't give a shit.
Daniel Levy.
Yeah, fuck him. But the one thing he does right.
You're being racist.
You know I love Jews.
You're on the podcast with 2 of them, so you better be
Can
nice.
I say that? Can I say Jews?
No, just say Jewish people. It's nicer than saying
Are you Jewish, Amanda? I didn't know that.
Yes, Dolly, I am.
Oh.
It's one of the many things we have in common, in addition to luscious breasts and doing porn in our past. But yeah.
Back to my point on David Levy. The one thing that he does The one thing he does very, very well is he gets players to sign new contracts even when they're leaving. So you see Gareth Bale signed an extension. He does a good job of getting players that are important to the club to sign contract extensions. In my opinion, the only time it's okay to let a player run down a contract is when they are getting towards the end of their career and they're not sure if they're going to continue on. So look at Santi, for example.
Or if you made a mistake with their wages and
maybe that. But if you look at Cazorla, he's not sure if he's going to be able to come back. He's not sure what his injury and how long he's going to stay out. He loves Arsenal. He probably doesn't have a better option. He could still play for our team. So let his contract go down. We did the same thing with Purr, right? You let his contract run down because he's towards the end of his career. Do we sign him on for a 1-year extension, maybe 2, right? So that's the only time in my opinion. But Amanda's right. This shit should have been taken care of 2 years when their contract's about to expire. And then if that player turns around and says, no, I'm not interested in extending at this point, well, then we're going to transfer list you because you don't want to be here. If you're not going to show your long-term commitment to us, we're not going to be put into a situation like we are right now. And then if that player
we're the only team where the player has to doubt whether there's a commitment from the team to improve. Though.
Exactly.
Everybody else, there's just an assumption
because
that
we
maybe
don't have I'm trying to think of another name that starts with D.
Donkey Levy.
A Donkey Levy. What we're missing is David Dean because he would have had this shit wrapped up. And so to answer that question, I think it's Arsene who is in charge of the contracts.
Oh, he's in charge of everything. Sorry. Yeah, he's in charge of everything.
Next question. You got this one?
Yeah. Rob Ford. Never heard of the guy. He seems okay. Will we ever wrap our transfer business early? ? Second question, will Arsene die on the job like Herb Chapman? Amanda.
God forbid.
We love Rob, by the way.
I don't really know what's going to happen. I can't call it at the moment. I can't see us winning. So how can he stay if we just continually lose? Mm-hmm. I can't see us winning. I can't see it. It's not me being negative. What I saw at Anfield, what I've seen at Stoke, and what I saw against Leicester, can you see us winning?
No. And the crazy thing is a friend said to me, who's not an Arsenal supporter, he's actually a Chelsea supporter, he texted me after the Liverpool match and said, the future's never that dark. We lost to you and maybe it was Liverpool early season last year. I said, yeah, the difference, though, is you have a manager, an owner, and a fucking team that want to play. I said, we don't have those 3 things. So I echo what Amanda's saying. It's impossible to know. But you're right. He can't keep down this path.
No, and that was where my point was of keep losing. But I can't. My heart breaks when I say things like that. But how else do we get rid of this manager? How else do we get rid? As you say, Kroenke's not going to sack him ever. His remit, he told us his remit was to get into the top 4 for 10 years and just to get in top 4. He did what he was told to do until this season, obviously, last season. Mm-hmm. Top 4, we won't even be top 10 if this continues. Look, hopefully after Thursday night, things will settle down. We will know where we stand. That's for sure. It's all going to unravel. It's actually pretty exciting in a nasty way, isn't it, in the next couple of days? Because we're going to know what's going on. All the talk was yesterday, is Sanchez signing? Is he not? Is he going? Is Mesut staying? Is what's going on with this? And is Zox... We didn't even really talk about the game beforehand. Once it's done Thursday night, we have the international break, then we play Bournemouth and we get back to normal. And unfortunately, I don't think normal is very good. No. Can I ask you two a question?
Mm-hmm. Oh, boy.
Yes.
Go for it.
I'm going to do my hosting skills now. Mm-hmm. Andy and Mike, how did you two support Arsenal over in... Are you in the west coast of America or the east? Can't work out. East? No, I don't know where you are.
I'm east, he's in the mountains. Which is
in the mountains. Andy, how did you support Arsenal being in the mountains?
Why was... I've only lived in the
wandering with a big stick.
I've only been in the mountains for 6 years. No,
So you fight bears and everything?
Yes, it's it's a non-stop battle, and I do it with my hands because that's how big of a man I am. But on an all serious note, the bear issue in Colorado right now is a little bit out of control.
Is it?
Yeah, it has. And the rumor is, so every time bears come out of the woods and start gathering for the winter, then that winter is supposed to be really bad here because they obviously know what's going on within nature and they start hibernating. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's been a problem. But no, Can I just
ask you, would you go shopping then and a bear comes in the supermarket?
No, it's not that bad. The worst I've ever heard about that was when a family of moose decided to live in the shopping market.
Meese.
Moose.
Did you say moose? What's a moose?
A moose.
Oh, a moose.
Yeah.
Oh, you're weird, you lot, with your accents.
A family of moose-eye lived in a parking structure of a mall, and they had to close down the parking structure until the moose-eye decided to leave. Yeah, but on a serious note, when
go on,
because we live in Colorado, there are a lot of animals that come down. They dart the animals, and then they tag them. And if they're tagged, they know where they live, and they just go and put them back in the wilderness. So,
wow. Yeah,
yep. And then every once in a while, a bear will attack a person. Then they'll put that bear to sleep because then they have the taste for human. But
and where does that bear end up waking up?
They put them back wherever they put the tags on there and they geo-track them so they know.
But when they put the bear to sleep, all right, never mind. Because they wouldn't kill the bear, would they?
No. They
put him to sleep.
Yeah, they dart him. They dart him. You know.
They knock him out for a bit. Knock him out, Mike.
So it's not like when you put your dog to sleep, then.
No. They dart it.
Go.
So anyway, to answer your question,
Mike, I wouldn't go to Colorado if I were you, Mike.
No, I was getting ready to plan a trip over there, and I have just canceled my tickets.
Sorry, Andy. Go on. I did interrupt you. So how did you get into Arsenal? Go on.
When I was born in Bury St. Edmunds, grew up around Hemel Hempstead. My family friends that were in the Hemel Hempstead Watford area were all Arsenal supporters, and I just they had two older sons who I idolized, and they were all Arsenal, so that was me, and have been supporting them since I was, I think, 4 or 5, and that's been it ever since.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And young Michael?
Well, my story has been told a million times, but I was a 15-year-old, moved over to London, still in high school. You sound like a fucking bear that's hibernating right now. Lived on the Piccadilly line, so I said, all right, well, which football team should I support? This one seems easy enough to get to, and so I went to Arsenal. Walked down Avenell Road into Highbury. I saw this amazing-looking teenage girl's ass walking up to the north to the east stand, and I said, "All right, well, this is my home." And it was 1988. This is where you belong. This is where I belong. Well, this is 1988. You know what?
If you'd have walked up Avenell Road past the marble steps and the door, the door where the bloke, oh God, I can't remember what his name is. the porter was standing, I was always on that corner with everyone chatting.
No, I used to come in. I used to come in the turnstiles before you would get to the marble halls. Actually.
Before the marble halls. Okay.
I mean, this is 30 years ago, so I'm struggling to remember. But I remember going through, paying a few quid to get into the stadium, buying a game program, which I still have about 25 of in my closet, which are like treasure for me at this point. Including the one against Newcastle on the day of Hillsborough, which, I mean, I'll never forget that day. But, when you go over there and you see what football is all about, and it's nothing like what I've ever experienced here, and and just get lucky enough where the season ends with Anfield, in your first year of supporting the team or even knowing that the team exists. That's all it took for me. And yeah, it was hard to follow Arsenal once I moved back home. And in fact, I wasn't really able to for 10 to 15 years, until 2006 when my son started playing football and games started getting televised regularly over here, which they weren't really before that point, and kind of fell back into it as hard as ever. So, and here we are.
Oh, so you're two proper Gooners.
My friend John is tired of hearing that story. John, who loves his last name so much that I can't say it because it's a family show, hates when I tell that story. So he'll appreciate, and in fact, he's just turned off the podcast, I'm sure.
Oh, well, I think it's a very nice story.
Oh, it's very romantic, especially the part about the ass on the Avenell Road.
Yeah.
But we have one more. We have on the corner. We have one more user question from Desta in DC, who says, "How do you honorable gits react to fellow Gooners looking down on the Europa League?" We haven't really discussed the Europa League much. He says he doesn't think that we're good enough to win it, and I don't know any honorable gits, so we'll answer the question instead. But Andy, what are your thoughts on the Europa League, and whether it's something we should be looking down on? And at the same time, are we even good enough to win it?
I wasn't paying attention, so I really appreciate when the fans and the bus and the players interact.
All right, Tom.
No. I wasn't paying attention, but I heard Europa League, and then I quickly read the question. Look, for me, if you're in a competition, you should be in the competition to win it. I think we're going to be in the same boat as Manchester United of last season. We're not going to be in the running for Champions League, so this is the best way in. I would take it absolutely seriously. At the end of the day, there's a shit ton of money involved if you win the tournament. It's not as prestigious as the Champions League, but you know what? We're in it, and we can fucking win it. If you look at all the teams in there up until the Champions League peeps get knocked out, we have an opportunity. We're probably the best team in the whole competition, so why not go and win it?
I mean, I don't think we're the best team. I mean, if you look at the coefficients, which unfortunately they're more about the last 3 years,
right? But fuck the coefficients.
We're the best team in every night. All right, well, we've got Milan, we've got Nice, we got a few other teams in there.
Nice.
What we got?
Nice.
What's Milan? Oh, Milan.
If that was the Italian in me, you would know nothing about Italian, would you?
It's Milano.
Yeah.
Milan.
Come on, I even know
Milan.
Milan. Okay. So
the reason why I wasn't paying attention, though, is because so many people have bitten into that tweet you sent out, Mike, of the whole...
What's he done now?
He sent a tweet out about how it says this: hearing from multiple sources that Arsenal told by Southampton that the price for Van Dijk is 60 million or 75 plus Theo. People can't comprehend a joke, and now people are arguing with our American friends because they didn't put a U in humor, and it's just like.
Oh, I just saw something from James. From Lossless, I did pop up, but I haven't been paying enough. I'm actually paying attention to the podcast that we're recording.
Why are you on Twitter while you're talking to me,
Andrew? Exactly.
Oh, my life.
Because I'm a man and I can multitask. I was actually sending you both 2 stories about bears in Colorado.
I'm so fascinated that you go shopping with bears. I like bears. They're cuddly.
Go shopping with bears.
I'm coming over to stay with all of you.
It's like
You should.
You can show me around, Andy.
Yeah, I'll take you around Colorado, around where all the bears hang out.
So is there a reason you just told me not to go visit him, and now you're saying that you're going to visit him?
Because then I'm coming to visit you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll make sure to prepare for that.
As long as you've got a bottle of Prosecco, I'm fine.
Oh, there's unlimited bottles of Prosecco in Virginia. We grow this stuff here, so
grow it.
We have Prosecco trees,
Prosecco.
and banana plants and all that stuff here in Virginia. So we'll eat and drink very well. User comments.
Get on with that. Go on.
Yeah. User comments. We've got some user comments that they're not really questions, so we'll blow through these really quickly. But they're just kind of one-liners. Nacho the Gooner asks or states, what burns through the retinas more, Arsenal's defense or the solar eclipse? That question was asked closer to when the solar eclipse actually happened. But that's very good, Nacho. Bobby Chakrabarti, our beloved friend who's completed the Andy and Mike set. What do we have to do to win? This is obviously beforehand. What do we have to do to win at Anfield? Also, will we ever get a penalty? We can't, and we won't.
We only get a penalty if we're in the box trying to shoot, probably.
Yeah, that's true. You do have to kind of jam yourself.
You have to be in the box. Yeah.
Got to get in. Steve-O, not the actual Steve-O, who I actually did go to high school with, believe it or not, but the man knows as @FootyInIt, who calls himself Steve-O, says, I think Arsene Wenger selects the teams blindfolded by throwing at a dartboard of squad players. We need a 180. Did I say that right? 180.
Do you want me to do it for you?
Yes, I would like that, please.
Okay, so you go 180. No, you don't actually.
That's not how
you
it
don't.
goes.
I think it would be way better if
standing next to a dartboard with a microphone and people throwing beer and smoke at you.
I just assume that Arsene blindfolds himself and the players, has real darts, makes them stand right in front of him, and just fucking throws them at God knows what speeds, and whoever gets tagged, that's where they play.
I would think that he does it blindfolded, except they're consistently bad. Like if he was blindfolded, they would at least be good every once in a while. The formations and the lineups. But all right, Andy, you remember at Where Is the Kiwi? This is our Cookie Monster friend who's changed his picture to Santi Cazorla. So, but he still clearly has cookies on the mind. He says, "I'm so sad and devastated to the point where I'm shooting blanks, aka all cookie dough but no chocolate chips."
Oh God.
This is the kind of listener that we have, Amanda. It's
they're all lovely. They're all really lovely.
Lovely in the same way that we're lovely.
Most of them are in prison.
Yes.
Oh.
We're amazing in the Mozambique prison system. We have like a 50 share in that thing.
You know when the people say like we get listeners because they need community service hours. So like I listen to this podcast of these two tards. That's why they're out of prison so quickly. The kind of folk that we get.
You've got to put it like this. At least they don't have to go to the Emirates and watch what I watch.
True. Very true.
See? Always a plus side to everything.
We have two more. One from Welsh Gooner at Roger Kendrick, chiming in once again with the comment, did you know that 1,000 disgruntled Oompa Loompas live in Theo Walcott's hair? And they want a pay rise of 5 more tubes of Brill cream.
I know all this lot. I know these tweeters.
Yes. I figured you knew some of them. And then we have one from, I don't think this guy's a listener. This was in response to my Van Dyke tweet. Mikko from Finland says, we have so many idiotic fans who know nothing about respect. Which, he wasn't one of our listeners. I think he was referring.
What was that kind of built from, though?
You
making fun of Theo and
yeah. I mean, that's all I had to do to set this guy off was make a wisecrack about Theo.
Some people love Theo.
I know. Yeah, some people that you know, Amanda, love Theo. But
yeah, not many. But
we won't name names, but yeah. So, Andy, do you have any motherfucking musings for today?
Nothing. I got nothing.
Nothing for today. Yeah, I don't blame you.
Oh, come on. We have to have a laugh. Look, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But at least we have each other. There we go.
There's Amanda's motherfucking musings right there. Thank you for that. I thought I'd be depressed, but I'm not. Picks of the week. We don't have, actually, this is the one thing I can hold on to at this point. Picks of the week. We're not going to be picking games for next week because there are no games next week. But we were joined by Mr. Gooner Man Slim Andy, whose nickname describes him almost as poorly as mine, which is hot young piece of ass Gooner.
Is that Andy coming back again on your pod?
Well, no, I'm just saying he joined us last week for.
Sorry, I listened to that. That was really good. Yeah.
Well,
See, now Andy is a Cockney. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
Just so I'd let your listeners know. I'm a posh Essex girl.
Just so you'd let them know. All right,
no.
Do the American. Do the American you were doing before.
Oh, have a nice day now.
Anyway, the picks, it's 6 for me, 4 for the guest spot, and Andy is pulling up the rear with 3, and it's not going to get any better for him as we go along. How's the Premier League going, Andy? I've been hearing tons of chatter about this.
I don't know. I haven't.
In the sense that I've heard zero chatter.
I haven't looked it up since we started the Premier League Fantasy, so.
I kind of got the sense of that. So maybe this isn't happening this season, but final thoughts. It's been an entertaining ride through this misery that we're dealing with. At least we have each other, like you said, to make it stronger. Quick plug again for the website. We're raising money to fight leukemia and lymphoma. It's www.goonersvscancer.com, goonersvscancer.com. If you can find some spare change in your cushions, your car, your tuchus, I mean, just pull it out of anywhere and help us out. New countries. We actually heard last week we talk about our new listeners from new countries that pop up on our tracking software, and we talked about one from Vanuatu last week, and then we got a tweet from Vanuatu, and it wasn't the listener, but it was someone who saw our tweet and then went back and listened to at least 30 seconds of the podcast. It doesn't really tell us whether they listened to anything more than the first time I talked about, the body part. But they're addicted for life now. And now we have Fiji joining us. We're cleaning up in the South Pacific Islands, and we're up to 95 countries that have tuned in to us. So Cook Islands, you're next. We're not knocking them down one by one. And we did get a contact from our Egyptian listener who reached out to us last week at Meadows65. So, yeah, I mean, if you're listening to the show, especially if you're outside the U.S. and U.K. where it might be a little unusual that you're listening to the show, please reach out to us by Twitter and let us know. Amanda, how can we reach you, hear from you on a regular basis, especially go back and listen to that Lee Dixon podcast if there's someone who hasn't actually listened to it yet?
Okay, so on Twitter, I'm at GoonerGirl1969. I'm affiliated to at Gooner Ramble. At Gooner Ramble Girls don't have their own Twitter. We're just at Gooner Ramble, or you follow us all separately.
It's free.
Yes, I'm a cheap date. So I only like bananas and Prosecco. So I'm a very cheap date, me. Yeah, so, and I do I guest on lots of different podcasts, which is fantastic. So I'm really delighted you invited me to come on because it's been fantastic. It's lovely, obviously, because I've met Andy. And Andy knows exactly what I'm like. I'm no different, am I, Andy? This is me.
No. But the thing is everyone that I've met through this podcast have just been that have their own pods, or we've met in the pub and we've had on the pod. Everyone's just normal. It's just, you know what I mean? Like, besides Lee Judges, who had to go film for BBC, so he was too good to hang out with us. Everyone else was lovely, including Amanda. And happy birthday, Lee.
Oh, yes. Happy 50. I didn't realize you'd be admitting to being 50, but since you have, I think we can now.
Yeah, he was 50 yesterday, I think.
It was. That's what I saw on Facebook.
He was 50 yesterday, and he'll be podding tomorrow night, Wednesday night our time, with his podcast that I've been on a couple of times as well. Yep. He's just as passionate. As I said, I went on a Liverpool one last night, and I did one of Lee's rants.
Good.
Honestly, you've got to listen to this. I'm very calm tonight, considering.
So what is your Twitter handle again? If you gave it, I missed it because I'm not familiar with what it is. I've never tweeted you before. So
you haven't? No, not for at least 24 minutes. At Gooner Girl 1969.
Okay. And are you considering changing it to what I suggested or no?
I can't remember what you suggested. I dread to think. Here we go.
Yeah, we'll talk later. All right, so...
Amanda, I ask one thing of you, and that's when you finally meet Mike in person, and he comes up to you and introduces himself, gives you a kiss on the cheek, you go, "Who are you?"
I'm just not going to... I'm going to kiss her on a different cheek, so she'll know. That's going to be the secret message, so she'll know it's me. I didn't actually just say that.
You wish.
Sorry, we're going to try to... Go ahead.
No, I said, Andy, don't worry, I'll do something.
So next week we're going to try to do something fun to kill the time of the interlull. Maybe play some games, do a little another round of What's More Important Than Arsenal, a game that we played a couple weeks ago, and at that point we'll know exactly how embarrassing or hectic the close of the transfer window was. But and then we could start our official ascent from 16th to 9th, where I think we'll end the season.
Oh, if you play games next week, I want to come on. What games do we play?
Twister.
Yeah, naked Twister. That's
yeah,
good.
Well, yeah, Twister, and we're going to play
Cluedo.
Cluedo. What the hell is that?
It's Clue.
Oh, you don't know what Cluedo is?
It's the same thing as Clue.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, we're more posher. We have Cluedo.
And we're going to play a big, long game of Risk, but a special version where I actually am apparently going to risk my marriage. So it's going to be fun. All right. Just kidding, hon. All right. So that's it.
Like she listens to this.
Have a great week, all of you, and come on, you Gooners. Oh, that was a shit show.
You're fucking nuts.
Our podcast always like completely degenerates in the last 10 or 15 minutes. It's just
yeah.